First off, thanks so much for having us. It's just following on to what Justin said earlier. We're really excited to be here with you guys. Just a bit about me. I run customer success here at Altered. I get to work with our community and our creators every day, as well as with our enterprise clients and our partners, doing everything from training folks on how to use Altered Studio, but also as well as creating custom voice and working with clients kind of across the audio landscape. So thanks again for having us. And yeah, excited to walk you through kind of how today's going to work out, just so everybody is on the same page. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes-ish kind of going over what Altered AI is, what do we do, what are our features within Altered Studio. Then we're going to hop into the studio and we're going to do a bit of live demo so that hopefully, fingers crossed, you can hear Altered in action. Obviously, hearing is believing when it comes to stuff like this. And then at the very end, we'd love to take questions and answer any of those that you may have. Also, this call is being recorded, so if you want to kind of refer back to this video, you're welcome to do so, as well as we'll drop some links in the chat as well that talk a little bit more about Altered, how you can trial Altered, and some links to some blogs that will showcase some of our new features that have just come out within Altered Studio in the last couple of weeks. So first off, what is Altered and what do we do? So Altered is a all-in-one AI voice creation tool and audio editor. Our cutting edge technology that started off with Altered was our speech-to-speech technology. So for those who are not as well-versed in the synthetic space, there's really two types of synthetic voice at the moment. We have speech-to-speech, which Altered is cutting edge at, as well as text-to-speech. Altered has both. So speech-to-speech being capturing the performance. So we call it a performance-to-performance technology. You can speak into the microphone, deliver a performance. That delivery and that initial performance is what we call the source speaker. That source speaker performs, it's recorded, and then the performance qualities of that voice, or linguistic fancy term, if you will, is called prosody, the vocal prosody of the voice. That allows you to transfer emotions like inflection, intonation, pace, pause, those qualities of the voice over to another vocal characteristic. So capturing your performance while changing your vocal characteristics, things like changing your age, your gender, your accent, pitch, etc. So that's what speech-to-speech technology does. And in addition to speech-to-speech within Altered, we also have emotive speaking style text-to-speech. We have rapid voice cloning, several AI audio effects and mixing tools, but we'll go into those in a bit later. But basically, bottom line is we're here to help creators create voiceover and voice content in really flexible, scalable, and creative ways. We want to give creators the creative control throughout the entire vocal production process. That's everything from the beginning of your pre-production, if you're making a film, all the way through to post. And we also have a really wide variety of clients, which is really exciting. We work with people from film and TV, video games, animation, podcasting. We can localize content because we support multilingual capabilities. We see the future applications, obviously, with avatars and Web3 and synthetic production. But then we also work with more corporate clients, creating e-learning training videos, explainers, content for small businesses, as well as direct to the content creators themselves. So any kind of helping with MLA for YouTube creators or podcasts, we kind of go from there. But we're really excited to be talking directly to creators. We see that this tech can be really kind of owned by the big dogs, if you will, and we're really passionate about democratizing this tech for creators. And so that's what Altered Studio is all about. Just a few features that I talked about earlier that you're going to see in the demo itself. I believe my screen's scrolling. There we go. We already discussed speech-to-speech. Our emotive text text-to-speech, or what we call speaking style text-to-speech, gives you access to all of Altered's professional voices, and this allows you to apply emotive states like shouting, whispering, game persona, newsread. We have 14 different styles of speaking that our voices can apply to text-to-speech. In addition to our own in-house text-to-speech, we also host a variety of third-party text-to-speech options as well, all within Altered Studio. Oh, I'm just noticing that I missed rapid voice cloning here, but rapid voice cloning is a feature that's live in Altered Studio, and it allows you, the creator on your own machine, to take 4 to 8 seconds of your own voice and to create a rapid vocal clone of your voice from those 4 to 8 seconds. I like to call it a vocal footprint because we say that it captures vocal likeness of your voice. And that's a way for our creators to quickly and easily create their own voice clone. And that's all within Altered Studio. As I mentioned before, we have 20 different professional voices in our library. These are really nuanced, robust models that allow you, the creator, to get a lot of performance out of them and use different dials to morph and create different characters. Those are our 20 professional voices. And then we have 800 plus common voices. I like to say that if you're on the streets of New York, you have a really wide sound base of accents and qualities of voices. They're not all professionally trained voices, which can be great for certain projects. And that's what we see common voices really being used for. One thing to point out about Altered is that we are a web-based product as well as a desktop. So if you have certain minimum hardware requirements, you can run Altered locally on a PC. And this will give you access to batch mode processing on our desktop app. It also allows you to set up a local server. And when thinking about implementing Altered into your workflow in the future, some of our subscriptions offer additional amount of synthesis morphing quota time based if you're running it locally on your desktop app. Another really exciting feature that we just put into Altered Studio is editing audio to video. We have a time-locked mode, which allows you to edit the audio stream while still staying synchronized to the video. So this is a really great tool, especially if you're looking to revoice or dub over voice content that maybe already is shot previously, as well as creating SRT files for subtitle creation. So we're going to stop here. We'll jump back into this presentation, but give me just 2 seconds and I am going to hop over to Altered Studio. We'll pull up a project that I've been working on to show you guys. And then at the end of the call, we'll jump back into use cases that we've seen directly for filmmakers. So give me just 2 seconds. Here we go. Can everyone see this?
Yes, we see it. Thank you.
Great, perfect. Thank you. I was hoping somebody would chime in. Excellent, great. Well, first off, welcome to Altered Studio. So this is the inside of our web-based browser at the moment. I have started a project, and I think it's just important to walk you through some key pieces that if you were to join the community and start a trial, that would be really important for you to know. So first off, if you were to start a project, you can always record directly into our workstation, into Altered Studio. So you can record a new file, whether that's through your AirPods or through a user interface with a mic. We allow you to record directly in, as well as you can always drag and drop files here into the waveform, which is actually what I've done today. So I've dragged a file in, which you will see here. So this is what the start of a Altered Studio altered file would look like if you dragged an MP3 in, as I did. The first thing that we allow you to do is to look at these three windows here. So we have a transcription editor. This is where you're going to do the source, the most of your work. So you'll do everything from speech-to-speech morphing to creating text-to-speech to inserting silences. And the amazing thing about this, as you'll see in a second, it really allows you to work down your dialogue and through your script. Another important window to the right of the transcription is the history panel. This is a lot like Photoshop, so it allows you to see every adjustment that you have made, so you can always understand what edits and what morphing you have done to which section of the file. So really, again, easily to trace your steps. And then the third window here to the left is our properties window. This has an integrated mixer, which again goes into Altered being not just a voice synthesis tool, but also an audio and sound mixing tool as well. So definitely check out our AI mixing tools here. And then while you create text-to-speech and create speech-to-speech, you'll see some options here that you'll see in a second. Another thing to point out just for new users is we have some really great tutorials. So if you click down here and get started, these tutorials are great for helping you walk through, as well as we always have an up-to-date knowledge base on our website, which has GIFs and more in-depth information about each feature. So let's work down a file. So like I said earlier, I've uploaded an MP3 of myself, and let's just make sure we have some sound. So can you hear this? Somebody chime in and let me know.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
Yes, we heard it.
Did we hear that?
Yes.
Great, perfect. We are in action. So the first thing that I always like to do when working with an audio file is I like to transcribe the text. So here there will be a big yellow button that says transcribe file, and that will bring up this. So Altered works with a transcription service, so that allows you to transcribe your files really easily, and then allows you to edit the text individually. So we now have a good section of text, and you can see that this window is directly correlated with the waveform. And you can see that my transcription is here above the actual sounds in the waveform. You can always edit these bounds. So maybe we didn't get it quite right. You can sharpen those. This is great if you have a podcast or you're looking to export transcriptions. This is a really great way to be able to make sure you're working directly with the waveform. And then we start the creative process. So the first thing I want to show you today is speech-to-speech. Again, this is our performance-to-performance technology, taking an input voice, morphing that voice, synthesizing that voice to sound like another person while still capturing and remaining and keeping that performance. So one thing to point out is that Altered has a library that I spoke about earlier. This is our 20 professional voices, as well as we have our text-to-speech voices as well. The 20 professional voices are the exact same on both speech-to-speech and text-to-speech. And then we also have all of our common voices that you can use here as well. So if we go back to the project, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select a piece of the file. So I'm going to select this first section here, and then we'll create a morph. And that is what I've done here. So once you right-click, you add an effect. One thing to point out about Altered is that plus signs always mean action for you. So that will allow you to decide if you're going to create a speech-to-speech or text-to-speech. And I would create a morph. So morphing is what we call speech-to-speech. And you'll see this lovely window pop up here. So give me a second so I can make it a little wider. So using just this section of my dialogue and my delivery, my performance, we are going to create a different character. So I have taken this section. I've chosen somebody from our library here. I've actually worked with Jennifer in this case, and she's now added to the library here. A couple of things to point out when you're working on speech-to-speech. There's two important things. One is the voice mode. So Altered has 5 different voice modes, and these are purpose-built for specific use cases. If you can see my drop-out menu there. So we have clone, flexi, performance, narration, and timbre. as you can see, several of them are listed as English. We look at these models as being accent converting, meaning it's going to take my American accent, and if I choose Jennifer here, as you can tell, she's a female 60 to 70-year-old Scottish woman, in any of the modes that are marked English, it is going to be accent converting, meaning it's going to convert my American accent into her Scottish accent while still capturing my performance as the source voice. If I chose Timbre 2 or Timbre 2 Fast, which is labeled as a cross-lingual, this allows you to be accent matching. And this allows for multilingual, meaning if I put in an Italian speaker, then Jennifer is no longer Scottish and English speaking. She will match the nuances of the Italian speaker and the nuances and the phonemes of the Italian language. So if you are looking to voice in anything that is not English, I would highly recommend working with Timbre mode. But in this case, I have chosen Clone 2. And then after we choose the mode, the next important thing is to work at our morph controls. The crux, I like to say, of Altered Studio, especially working with speech-to-speech, is this target prosody. As I mentioned earlier in the intro, prosody is those vocal characteristics of the voice like inflection, tone, pace, pause that really deliver performance. So when this dial is set at 0, you're saying, I want to capture all of the source performance. So if I'm the performer, I want to capture all of my performance. When I turn that dial closer to 100, what I'm saying to the software is, I want to capture less of my performance and more of the innate and built-in performance that Jennifer brought to the table. So I always say sometimes if you're not a great actor, then I would always turn that dial up towards 100. But if you have a really great performance and that's something you want to capture, then keep that dial rather low. So once I make some creative adjustments based on the mode that I'm in, then I click synthesize and I create some conversions here. So let's just create a morph. So let's listen to the input file for this section.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
So that was me. And then using Jennifer in flexi mode, I have created her conversion.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
So I like that, but sometimes I think, let's get some options, right? Like as creators, we love to have options. So let's create another morph here just so that you can see how it works and how fast the synthesis happens. So first thing I did is I decided to work in flexi mode because I actually want to change my performance and I want to create a whisper with Jennifer. So I've chosen flexi mode, which gives me this dial option here called loudness shift. One thing to note is that Altered Studio does work at production grade synthesis. So we always can export in 48K or 24K, whatever you desire. And then I'll start working with some of these modes. I want to keep that prosody quite low because I want to capture the intensity of my performance, but I want to force Jennifer to create a whisper. So I'm going to drop this dial down here into the negative to create a whisper. And I don't think I want to change anything else. I would definitely say if you trial with Altered and get into our software, I would say definitely check out the knowledge base to really understand what each of these controls does, just so you can maximize your experience. I'll turn a bit of post-processing up, which might take away some cleanliness of the file, and I'll click synthesize. And after I click synthesize, you can see all of my conversions, so my options of my final exports happening here. I'm going to give it a second. Great. So now let's see what our second option is for the delivery of this line with a whisper.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
Oh, so I think I like that one maybe better than my previous one. Let's just listen to the normal spoken flexi voice as well.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
And then let's listen to the original input.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
Cool. So that is how you create a speech-to-speech morph. I have done this on other parts of the line. As I'm clicking down the history, you can see this here. Just so that you can see that I've morphed my spoken voice into 3 different characters, so allowing me to create one source voice to create 3 different characters in a multicast. So just so we can get the full effect, let's listen to the full file, the first delivery, the input voice.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position. Understood, Commander. Delta 2, we need artillery support. Do you copy? Copy. And en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
And then after we've created all of our morphs and the entire file, we have 3 different characters.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
Understood, Commander. Delta 2, we need artillery support. Do you copy?
Copy. And en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
So that is kind of the power of speech-to-speech and the power of that performance, of being able to capture your voice actor and transfer their performance over to different qualities of the voice. One other thing that we discussed earlier in the intro was about emotive text-to-speech. So let's say I left out a line from Jennifer and I want to add that here. So let's say, good job, team, over and out. Super cliche. But I want to add it to the very end. And I want to add it with Jennifer. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to add Jennifer. I've added a text-to-speech line. And now I want to choose a speaking style. So let's have her give a aggressive, loud whisper. I'll turn on 48K. This was one of my 14 different speaking styles to choose from for Jennifer. And I click synthesize. And now my text-to-speech is generating with Jennifer with a specific emotion. And you can see that it's been added to the bottom of the script here. And let's just take a listen.
Good job, team. Over and out.
So then I can go from there and make adjustments on my text-to-speech, choosing different voices, choosing different speaking styles. But that really shows you the power and the integration of speech-to-speech and text-to-speech. We see the ability to be able to work between the 2 tools as being really a holistic concept, and giving you the ability to either use speech-to-speech solely with using text-to-speech as pickups, or using text-to-speech with speech-to-speech pickups. So we've covered speech-to-speech, we've covered text-to-speech. 2 other things that I want to point out quickly, I won't necessarily do as in-depth of a demo, is I did want to point out rapid cloning. So this little DNA gene icon here on the left-hand side is to create your rapid clone. As you work down from step 1 to step 4, you put in a 4 to 8 second clip of your own training file, and then you create your own rapid voice. And just as you have voices here in the library, by clicking the plus sign, you can go to the custom voice section in your library, and all of your rapid voice clone models will appear there in the library for you to morph, just like you did using speech-to-speech previously, by selecting the file either here or in the waveform and clicking morph, and then applying your own rapid voice clone to that. And then the last piece that I think is really fun that we want to show you guys is our brand new voice and video capabilities. So this allows you to import a MP4 or a different type of movie file, then work directly with an audio stream to either change the voice, use text-to-speech in multiple languages, work directly with that audio stream, and then sync it back up and export the file, while also giving you the ability to create SRTs or different subtitling that you wish, and choosing the amount of symbols and characters based on what you need to export in. So I've created this file. We won't go into depth, but as you can see here in the history window, I've imported a movie file, an MP4. I have transcribed, I've done speech to text of the text, with the transcription of the audio. And then I've gone over and I've started to create different morphs of different sections of the video. So let's take, for example, here, this is a section of the file.
You mean you eat other people's lunches?
You mean you're eating other people's luncheons? We all know this this scene from the movie. But then I wanted to take over Schwarzenegger's voice. I wanted to dub him over using our veto, and I've done that using speech-to-speech here. So I've chosen performance mode. I've played a bit with the dials, and then I've created this conversion.
You mean you eat other people's lunches?
So you could work down the audio file. We've done some other pieces here, working with the kids' voices, for example. So,
is your daddy a fireman?
Is your daddy a fireman? I wanted to see what would happen if we aged her voice.
Is your daddy a fireman?
So just giving you the ability to re-voice over and dub over, and really be able to update existing videos if you already have videos that you want to update the voiceover on those, or shoot something and then go back and do a bit of ADR and pick up. I believe I only have 10 minutes left. Can someone confirm that for me? Hero?
Yes, that was the plan. So, yeah.
Perfect. Great. So I definitely want to get to some folks' questions. But quickly, just to end us out, let me hop back over to our presentation here. And I just want to point out a few things that we have seen and give you some use cases. I hope everybody can see this. Give you some use cases of some clients that we have, specifically geared at film and TV and working with entertainment. So we have this wheel here on the right-hand side. We've broken it down into pre-production, production, and post-production. And we really see Altered really benefiting all three parts of this process for filmmakers. Starting off at the top, we have had clients who will be almost using it in the writer's room, like pulling up dialogue, creating it, iterating, and then really getting it from the page onto the stage, if you will. So giving you that ability to iterate and hyper create really quickly while still giving the flair and emphasis of what you imagine those final characters to be. We definitely see that as a big piece of it, as well as our animation clients, allowing them to create temp VO to illustrate too, while inspiring the voice, allowing the voice, the vocal characteristics to inspire the animation and vice versa, much earlier in the process than when traditional voiceover is brought in. Then in the production, there's a lot of different ways. I think some interesting ones is we have a client who is with Gimlet, which is a Spotify company. They create multicast background for different narrative podcasts. And then we can have, people working in ADR and creating loop group and voila, as well as we have some news clients who have used Altered to conceal the identities of their source voices. So if you're doing a documentary where maybe you can't have the final source voice visible for security reasons or confidentiality reasons, then this is a great way to protect their identity through that. And we've seen definitely some use there as well as just production voices. So being that final voiceover that in the game world is shippable and in the film world, makes the final cut. And then in film in particular, post-production is definitely where Altered can help as well. Again, creating that ADR, adding in and creating small adjustments, doing those pickups, localization, dubbing. Again, use that timbre mode and check out our multilingual capabilities if you have the ability to voice in a different language. But then a really interesting one is that's typically a bottleneck in the production process is for unavailable actors. So we have a client who has needed to create a voice and model a voice because a child actor's voice has aged and they are no longer able to speak in their voice that they had in his younger timbre, if you will, about 6 months ago when they shot. So there's a lot of different ways that this technology is being applied to the filmmaking process. And I think we're really starting to see it take off from now. And we're excited and we are always very interested to know what our community is seeing altered adding benefit where along the process, as well as what you guys are creating. So please, if you do jump in and test out altered, we are always eager to hear and see your creations and where altered can really add value. And that's it. I will kind of leave you with these final quotes, but I know we only have 5 minutes left, but I would love to answer any questions you have and go from there. But thanks for having us, and we are looking forward to having you try all the software.
Thank you again, Caitlin. Really cool presentation and really cool tool. So yeah, now questions to the audience. Do you have some questions to Caitlin or maybe to iterate? So then feel free to raise your hand and I can put you on the stage. Or if you don't feel comfortable with speaking, then as well use the chat box and then just ask. Angry Girl, I just put you to the stage. So yeah, feel free. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can.
Yes. Thank you so much for the presentation. It's amazing and lots of opportunities. But I want to ask you, can you a little bit explore more about different language abilities? Because I don't really understand how it works for, I don't know, like Chinese or Spanish. I mean, there are so many nuances in pronunciation or intonation, which is completely different towards English. So how it picks all these nuances if we want to make something multi-language?
It's a great question. It's really hard to explain, but why don't I just pull up a sample and show it to you? I think hearing is believing oftentimes when you're using this tech. So give me 1 second. Let me go back into Altered Studio and share, and I'll just show you this quickly. So here, if we are back in the studio, I believe I am. Here we have a sample where I have put this little section out here of the first 3 seconds is an Italian source speaker. So I have put an Italian speaker, so let's listen to her voice.
E noi tutti sappiamo quali effetti nocivi abbiano.
And then going back in speech to speech and choosing my timbre mode here, which again is marked as cross-lingual and is purpose-built for multilingual. This is now going to allow me to take any of our professional voices in the library, and it's going to allow them to now be accent matching. So it's going to match her pronunciation of the phonemes in Italian and her nuances and the ways that she's accented that language. So let's just listen to some of those samples here.
E noi tutti sappiamo quali effetti nocivi abbiano.
So that's Robert, who traditionally, if you chose any other mode, so if you chose any of these modes in spoken English, he would have a Scottish accent. So as long as you change that source voice to be another language and you morph in speech to speech in timbre 2, then that allows you to use our 20 professional voices to create a multilingual conversion. Did that answer your question?
I guess so. I need to play with this, but yeah, in general, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Cool. Thank you for asking this question. Are there more questions from the audience? So
yeah,
feel free to ask.
I think just speaking on the multilingual, Altered has so many different features at the moment, and what I just showed was speech to speech, and that really does allow you to capture that performance, right? I think especially when you're working in multi-language, that different languages have very different performability and sing-songiness, if you will. Certain languages have more than others. So I definitely say speech-to-speech helps you get a more natural performance of that. But we do third-party text-to-speech. So that would allow you to transcribe your script from English to, let's say, Italian, and then use one of our third-party voices, which are text-to-speech based voices that are built for the Italian language. And then one thing that I often help clients with is you can actually morph that third-party voice back through our speech-to-speech system, which just helps give some believability and some breath and liveliness to the line. So I think our ears sometimes can hear text-to-speech as being robotic, but actually if you mix the two tools, that speech-to-speech and that text-to-speach, you can get a much more believable final conversion. So Angry Girl, I should have asked for your first name, but please check out the text-to-speech too and play with those, and I would love to hear your feedback on that.
I would have two more questions. So my first question would be, you just showcased, I think it was this 60 or 600 common voices. These are natural human voices which you have recorded and put into your system, or are these all AI generated voices?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So all of our voices that are in the library are based on our humans and recorded voices. We don't know who they are, especially our professional voices. They are based on pro actors and pro voice users. But again, we don't know who they were. But in our subscriptions, I should have mentioned, we have 3 different kinds of subscriptions. We have a creator subscription as well as a professional subscription. And I would definitely say head over to altered.ai and check those out. They break down what different modes you have, as well as what voices you have access to based on your subscription, as well as licensing. So as a lot of us are creators in the professional space, commercial licensing is huge. And in our professional subscription, all of our 20 professional voices are licensed for commercial use. So you can also audition them in the library. So you can always go through and listen to them by clicking a quick little preview to hear their voices, and then star your favorites, and then obviously start creating from there. But yes, they are based on human voice.
Cool. And my last question would be, can you showcase one more time your slideshow to the section with the different use cases or the different areas where your application can be used?
Sure. Yep. And I'm also happy to, we can post some of that in the comments as well. Let me just see where I put that. Here we go. Let's see. There you go. So we really see ourselves being used kind of across the entire audio landscape.
Can you go to the slide? I think it was 4 or 5 where you have this free section. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
The pre-production, production. What is your experience from your clients? In which phase the tool will be used mostly? Is it more production, post-production, or pre-production?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I would definitely say that we've had a lot of clients use it in pre-production and post-production. But I think, again, it's like once it's in your workflow and once you start realizing where you can use it, we are having a lot of clients having shippable content in production. Obviously, in post-production, typically, I should have mentioned this at the top, but my whole background has been working with the voice, whether that's voice acting, voice directing, or teaching vocal pedagogue. And so from my experience, and I'm sure as many of you on this call working with the traditional voiceover method, is that there's a couple of bottlenecks going throughout this production process. And some of those that are quite big are in the post-production, right? Like all of a sudden your voice actor is on holiday and they're not available, or they're booked on set on a TV show for another 6 months and don't have the availability to get back in the booth to do some ADR for you. So I think post-production is definitely where there is a need for something quick and fast and flexible for voice. So definitely in post-production, I mentioned earlier, creating those custom voices for clients who maybe it was a child actor and they're not available to come into the booth, or their voice has changed, it's gotten older, or an actor is sick and they need to have the ability to create and add in some lines, as well as the localization piece with that multilingual. But production, I think, it's really amazing when we listen to certain creators' exports and hearing, the different voices and how they can all blend together to create a really interesting use case. Again, the identity of the voice. But then I think there's true value for creators of bringing voice in much earlier than we ever thought possible due to cost or availability of the traditional voice methods. So I think it's not necessarily one section, but once it's in your workflow, you can really find value throughout all three.
Cool. Thank you for highlighting that again. And yeah, I would say we wrap up now our session. I just as information for you, Caitlin, as well, Philip, our CEO, has said thank you. Just check the comment section. So really interesting what you are building, and we are really looking forward what our creators or artists will use and generate with your tools. So yeah, thank you again, and thank you as well for the audience for joining here and for bringing up this good questions. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Thanks again for having us. We're super excited about what you guys are doing. And we're excited to see how your users use Altered. And if you are interested in checking out more about Altered, obviously we'll drop some links over. But if you're interested in trialing, you can sign up directly through the website, and that's altered.ai.
Cool. Thank you, Caitlin, and the rest of the team. And I would say we close it now for now, and have a nice day, and yeah, see you soon. Bye, guys.
Talk soon. Thanks, guys.